Hey, Chris Liepe here. I've gotten this question a lot on the channel and in emails and all over other social media outlets. The question is it normal to have a coughing-like sensation or to feel like you're going to choke? Or is it normal to have pain or discomfort when you are starting to learn how to scream or sing aggressively or use grit, distortion, whatever you want to call it? And the answer is, unfortunately, sort of yes, but only when you're doing it wrong. A lot of people do experience pain, discomfort, coughing sensation, those sorts of things, because they're not engaging their muscles, both support and their neck muscles, in the correct way. So it doesn't have to be normal. You can discover how to do this stuff without any pain, any discomfort, any choking, any coughing. And in this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to start off right so that you don't get discouraged or do something for just a few seconds and realize that it's uncomfortable and then give up. So the first and probably main reason that people struggle with these sensations of pain, discomfort, coughing, choking, etc., is that they are not fully aware of how to use their singing support. I know I say this in virtually every video, but it's the crux of almost everything. If you're trying to provide energy without engaging your support muscles correctly, without knowing how that feels, and without understanding, I've talked about this in other videos, without understanding this approach, where we're bearing down and we're thinking up in terms of airflow, then you're not going to be able to do anything in singing without introducing unwanted competitive tension, and you're certainly not going to be able to sing aggressively without pain or discomfort. If you want help dialing that in and watching someone else dial that in with my help, click the link below and join my free vocal course. And I walk you and another student step by step how to engage your support muscles, how to understand how this whole thing is supposed to feel so that you can be set up to try cool things like aggressive singing and really do it right from the beginning. With all that in mind, here are some tips to get started on the right path. Let's first talk about placement. Now, if I'm going to grit up my voice right now, I'm going to do that. I'm actually not talking very loud. I already have burnt out a portion of my voice and it dried out really quickly. And if I were to try to push that, what I just did, I would end up feeling discomfort. That is because I am in Cookie Monsterville and I'm placing I'm placing it to the point where it's lower. And what this does, the reason I have to cough after that is because it's kind of a contortionistic sort of situation I'm putting my vocal cords in, and I'm actually not holding back air. True aggressive singing that works is actually the result of using compression correctly. And you've seen me do other videos on compression. We're not going to get a ton into it, but I want to give you a little exercise so that you can start to really feel where the sensation of grit, distortion, screaming, all that stuff should be happening in your throat. So we're going to do an E vowel, and we're going to just real short bursts of this. And we're going to do this in different areas of our range with different resonances. When we're doing this, we should not feel the sensation, that closure that we're getting. I'm not talking about vocal cord closure, like whispering versus I'm talking about the area above our vocal cords. This where we're cutting off air. That is different than our primary vocal folds. That's our false chord area. And doing this, but doing it all over our range, whether we're in head, whether we're in chest, whether we're in mixed, by realizing that that shouldn't move because we're actually closing off the air and letting our vocal cords underneath do the work of changing positions and doing all those things. By getting that sensation down and recognizing in our minds that there's a single point of holding back air, and that's different than our vocal cords. Understanding that is the first step to placing the grit correctly, and you won't cough if you are engaging this area. Now, I'm not adding any distortion per se, but I am becoming aware of how that initial feel is interacting with other things that I feel. But here's where people screw this up. I'm going to do this again. Now, what I've done is I've done it kind of quickly and hastily, and you heard there was this sense of rasp that kind of came in. That was partially related, but really what I started to do is I started to move that point of cutting off air lower, and it crept down. This is a reality. It's not like, oh, I'm placing it in the right place and I'm good. It's that we have to consciously place it correctly, or we're going to start frying our vocal cords. This happens to me all the time, where I'm singing aggressively and I catch myself, it's like, oh, I'm getting prematurely tired, or I do feel like I have this little coughing sensation. And what's happened is I've lost sight of placing the compression-based grit. I've lost sight of placing that in the correct place. It creeps down. And this is something that we all have to watch on a dynamic level. But let's go ahead and take it a step further. We're going to go but we're going to end up adding a lot more push from our primary support. Again, if you don't understand how to do that, this isn't going to work and you're still going to cough. So join my free vocal course and get your support dialed in and then come back. But here's what we're going to do. Paying careful attention. Now I'm going to push more and hold back more. So we've got like that. Hear the grit? Right? That's a really ugly sound. But I'm in head voice and I'm creating that same sort of distortion. Now, just right there was a sense, those first couple sounds I made, I had the grit right. But then I started to notice this little sensation down here. I had tensed on that very last sound that I made, and it created that coughing sensation. So I need to reset, and I need to try it. Now what's happening there is I'm pushing so much more, and I'm changing the amount of time I leave open for sound to come through, and then I'm continuing to push and come back closed. Again, we're not talking about vocal cord closure. That's independent of what's happening above it. But I'm coming back to that closed, and it's causing that to happen, right? Ugh. But what this is doing is it's constantly reminding myself where that friction is supposed to happen. This is so key. I'm telling you, this is where it all begins. Now, what I want to do when I go beyond this, let's go eat right there. I'm going to practice opening up and closing, and opening up and closing, opening up and closing. And then I'm gradually going to get this feel where I can open and close at the same time. That's going to allow me to get that consistent grit without involving my primary chords. I'm actually giving them a bit of a break because, after all I'm really doing is holding back air. Placing that high means that I can do that, and I was sort of singing a note. Singing that note, right? All of that is coming from above, and it's practicing that open, close, open, close, open, close. Okay, push air, but let my vocal cords do their thing pitch-wise while I'm letting the above open and close at a fast rate. That's that false chord engagement. Now, where a lot of singers can take this to another level is by employing the vocal break, which you've heard me talk about in lots of other videos. The placement doesn't really change. We should still feel it above, and it shouldn't be creeping down in here. There might be some of that, but then we need to recenter by doing what I'm talking about here. The reason the vocal break works is because as our vocal cords are changing positions from our different resonances, there's this open section where our vocal cords are not closing, and so we are able to allow more air to pass to be stopped by our false chords. That's the sound that we're hearing when we get to this that sort of sound where it's not that's a more mild, that's the result of what I was doing before, that compression-based distortion. This other one is still compression-based, still false chord engaged, but our actual vocal cords have less engagement and our false chords have more engagement. So we've got that going on with our false chords, and our primary chords are taking a slight back seat to what's going on. That's why you hear this sort of faint, pitchy, cracky thing going on that almost sounds like falsetto or behind that thick false chord engagement. Yeah! Right? And you can hear when I'm dialing that in. You can hear that happening. You can hear that falsetto sort of happening behind. And there really is a lot of jargon and false chord scream, fry scream. It's all false chords. I mean, we're using our false chords for all of this. So don't worry about what everybody says on the internet about what kind of scream it is. Just experiment in this way and see what kind of sounds come out. It's going to be slightly different for everybody, but these tools are going to help you do it without hurting yourself and without creating any sort of discomfort at all, really. And one more thing I have to say about this, it's not discomfort and it's not pain, it's not coughing, but I would describe it as heat. There is this heat caused by friction of your false chords coming together a lot that is going to make it feel warm, used, engaged. That's totally fine. You may even feel that gets tired after a while. Every part of our body, when we use it a lot, gets tired and needs rest. So that's totally fine. If you want to see another video on engaging these different singing aggressively techniques, check out my video on the no-pitch scream or the no-note scream. This is going to help you take this grit and compression-based distortion to even another level. And again, none of this really works without properly supporting all that I'm doing. So if you want to interactively make sure you have that dialed in, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. We'll see you for more.